Well, good afternoon, Mr. Farrar. I'm going to go ahead and ask you a few questions. So, if you could first start out by just telling us about your job duties and what a typical day at work is like for you.
Okay. As Director of Food and Beverage here at Turning Stone, I have the responsibility to oversee all the food and beverage outlets, and including in that is approximately 800 team members that work in the various departments of food and beverage, from the restaurants to the beverage floor, cocktail servers to banquets. I have been in this position since 2001, and a typical day for me is, I'll say unfortunately, more meetings than operations. For me, operations is where the fun is. You get to see people, you get to see your staff, you get to talk to them. You really understand the feel and the vibe of what's going on the property, and I think that's very important for me to know and understand in case we have to make some changes, or someone needs help, or whatever it may be. So that's basically a typical day.
Okay, great. Thank you. And as a current leader, as the director of the food and beverage department, what is your main inspiration to keep leading and motivating people every day?
For me, and I'm a little old school, old fashioned. It's all about our guests. So to me, the motivation is that were we successful today in pleasing every single person that walked through the door, and that I'll never change my philosophy on that. That's what we're here for, and I truly believe that. And to make sure that the team that works for us is able to do that, is able to have that same feeling that I have for taking care of the guests.
So, kind of bouncing off of that question, how do you keep your team motivated and engaged every day?
Well, I can't do it by myself, and I'm fortunate that I have a group of people that are under me that work hand in hand with the staff directly, a little more directly than me. From my personal, the way I am is, there's a lot of times I like to be the cheerleader, so to speak. And it's those times when I'm in the outlets and talking to the team, and giving them some positive feedback, and letting them know when they've done a good job, and so those are the things that are very important to me, that have always worked for me, and I think that's it. And then the other part of it is what tools does the team need to be successful, and whether it's maybe a change in staff, or maybe it's equipment, whatever those things are. Sometimes I need to find a way to ensure that they have those so they can do their job better.
So, what advice would you give an aspiring leader?
My advice would be to, the goal is to have people follow you. So how do you get them to do that? And I think, it starts out with understanding what they have to do, and then it goes to how can you support them, and not do their job for them, but help them be successful. And if you could do that, you'll build up a good crew. You'll build up a good leadership base, and they'll do what you ask of them. And I think that's very important. I think it's important to let them fall on their face once in a while and learn, and that's okay, And as long as they're willing to accept if they made a mistake and move forward from that, I think it's all part of the maturation of a leader.
So, in order to be an effective leader, what do you think are the most important skills or characteristics someone must possess?
I think you have to be a good listener. I think you have to be a good decision maker and not afraid to make decisions. I think you can't be afraid to make a mistake. You have to be able for people to be able to talk to you.
Right.
When someone asks you for help, somehow you have to find a way to help that person. And you have to learn how to delegate. As much as leaders, I think that's a problem sometimes with leaders. They feel that they're the boss and they have to do it all their way, or they have to do it themselves. And
Right.
if they do that, they're not going to accomplish a lot, because you just can't.
You can't do it all.
You can't. You just can't do it all on your own. No, you have to work in a good team atmosphere.
Do you think there's a difference between managing people and leading people?
Yes, in a way that if you're a good leader, the managing part is easy.
And then my last question is, what tactics do you use to motivate employees that may not be performing up to the high standards of Turning Stone?
You really have to first of all find out what's the problem, what's the issue, and you have to focus on that to say, okay, here's what you're not doing. You're not supporting your team, or you're not watching the details of your outlet, things of that nature. I am an optimist, usually, and I always feel that there's hope for people, even if they're not doing a good job. So it's something that I'm one of those guys that thinks that I can talk to someone and hopefully I can turn them around. I know better that doesn't work all the time. So, but I think it's worth a try. I think people are worth giving them a shot and trying to help them succeed. But there's a lot of times too, you just because being around as long as I have, you could tell if someone really has the drive to do it.
Right, to change for the better.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, Vince, thank you so much for your time and your insight on behalf of Utica College.
My pleasure. Anytime.